I almost burned my cabin down trying to keep it cool. It was one of those brutal summer days, the kind where the air feels thick, and even with every window open, the inside of the cabin was pushing 95 degrees. I had been living out here for a while, trying to stay off-grid as much as possible. But that heat? It was becoming unbearable. Sleeping was almost impossible. Working during the day felt like torture. So I decided to do something about it. I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars on a fancy mini-split. I also didn't want to keep running a loud generator just to stay comfortable. I wanted something smarter, something much cheaper. That's when the idea hit me. I still had a big box of old laptop battery cells I had pulled from broken laptops over the years. And up on the roof, I had solar panels sitting in the sun. What if I could combine all of that to build a real cooling system? One that mostly runs on free energy from the sunlight. It sounded perfect. Recycled batteries, free solar power, a small DC cooler. Low cost, high reward. I was genuinely excited. I really believed I had found a clever solution that many people could copy. But I was wrong about one very important thing. I started taking those old cells out and testing them the best way I knew how at the time. Some were clearly dead. Others seemed okay with just a basic voltage check. I roughly sorted them, threw together a simple battery pack, and connected it to a solar charge controller I already had. Then I wired up a basic DC fan setup and a few cheap Peltier modules. At first, everything looked fine. The fans were spinning. The solar panels were producing power. I felt like I was actually building something useful, something that could cool my cabin without costing me a fortune every month. But deep down, I was rushing. I didn't properly test the internal resistance of the cells. I didn't add any real protection. I just wanted to see if it would work. And that's the part that almost cost me everything. A few hours into testing, I noticed one of the cells was getting much warmer than the others. At first, I told myself it was probably normal. It's just settling in, I thought. But it kept getting hotter and hotter. That's when I smelled it. A sharp, chemical-like burning smell. I turned and saw a small wisp of smoke coming from one of the cells. My stomach dropped. I immediately disconnected everything. But for a few terrifying seconds, I genuinely thought my cabin was about to catch fire. All because I was trying to cool it down. I stood there in silence, heart racing, staring at that smoking cell. In that moment, I realized how close I had come to losing everything I built out here, just because I was impatient and didn't respect how dangerous old lithium batteries can be when handled incorrectly. That scare changed everything for me. But instead of giving up, I decided to face what went wrong and figure out how to do this the right way. After that scare, most people would have probably thrown all those old batteries away and just bought a proper system. But I didn't. I was still stubborn. I still believed there was a way to make this work safely. So I decided to try again. This time, I told myself I would be more careful. I started by taking the cells out one by one and testing them more thoroughly. I bought a cheap internal resistance tester online and began checking each cell. That's when I realized how bad the situation actually was. A lot of the cells I had collected weren't in good condition at all. Some had high internal resistance, which meant they would heat up quickly under load. Others were already swollen or had inconsistent voltage. I had been planning to use almost all of them in one big pack. Looking back, that was a huge mistake. But at the time, I was still trying to save money. I kept thinking, maybe if I just balance them well enough, it'll be fine. So I started building the pack anyway. I grouped the cells that seemed good enough together and began soldering them into a 4S configuration. I didn't have a proper BMS yet. I figured I could add one later if things worked. I also didn't add any fuses or proper protection between the cells and the solar charge controller. I just connected everything directly. In my mind, I kept telling myself that since the solar panels weren't that powerful, nothing bad could really happen. I was wrong. Once I finished wiring everything together, I placed the battery pack on a wooden table inside the cabin and connected it to the solar panels outside. I turned on a small DC fan first to test the system. Everything seemed to be working. The fan was spinning, and I could see power coming in from the solar panels. I felt a small sense of relief. Maybe this time it would actually work. But after about 40 minutes, I noticed something strange. One of the cells near the middle of the pack was getting warm, noticeably warmer than the others. I touched it gently with the back of my finger. It was hot, much hotter than it should have been. I immediately felt uneasy. I turned off the fan and disconnected the load, but the cell kept getting hotter. Within a few minutes, I started smelling that same sharp chemical odor again. This time it was stronger. I leaned in closer and saw a thin line of smoke rising from the side of the cell. My heart started racing. I grabbed a pair of insulated pliers and quickly disconnected the entire pack from the solar charge controller. Then I carefully moved the smoking cell away from the others using a pair of tongs. For a moment, I just stood there, staring at it, not sure what to do next. That cell could have started a fire, and it was sitting right inside my cabin. I opened all the windows and doors to ventilate the space, then took the entire battery pack outside. I spent the next hour carefully separating every cell and checking them again. That's when I discovered the real problem. Several of the cells I had used had much higher internal resistance than I realized. When current flowed through them, they generated heat, and because they were packed closely together, with no proper spacing or cooling, that heat had nowhere to go. One cell started a chain reaction that could have ended very badly. I sat outside on the steps of the cabin for a long time after that, just looking at the smoking cell lying on the ground. I felt stupid. I felt reckless. And more than anything, I felt lucky that nothing worse had happened. Up until that point, I had been treating these old batteries like they were harmless. I thought that because they were free, I could afford to take some risks. But that moment made me realize something important. Recycled batteries are not free if they burn your house down. That was the day I stopped treating this project like a simple DIY experiment. I knew I had to completely change my approach, or I was going to end up with a much bigger problem than just a hot cabin. After what happened, I sat outside for a long time, thinking about what I had almost done. I realized I had been extremely lucky. If that cell had gone into thermal runaway while I wasn't paying attention, the whole cabin could have been destroyed. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to keep guessing anymore. I was going to learn how to work with these batteries properly, or I was going to stop this project completely. The next morning, I started over from scratch. The first thing I did was research how to safely build a battery pack using recycled 18650 cells. I watched hours of videos from people who had been doing this for years. I learned about internal resistance testing, cell matching, proper spacing, and the importance of a good battery management system. I went through every single cell I had collected. This time, I was ruthless. Any cell with high internal resistance, inconsistent voltage, or physical damage was set aside. In the end, I only kept about 60% of the cells I originally had. It hurt to throw so many away, but I knew it was necessary. Next, I bought a proper 4S100A BMS with balancing and over-temperature protection. I also added fuses on both the positive and negative lines, and I installed a simple low-voltage disconnect. These weren't expensive parts, but they made a massive difference in safety. I also changed how I built the physical pack. Instead of packing the cells tightly together, I left small gaps between them for airflow. I added aluminum strips as heat spreaders and placed the whole pack inside a metal enclosure with ventilation holes. This time, heat would have somewhere to go. When I finished building the new pack, I felt nervous, but also more confident. I had done everything I could to make it as safe as possible with the knowledge I had. I brought the new battery pack back into the cabin and connected it to the solar charge controller. This time, I didn't rush the testing. I started with a very small load, just one 12V fan, and monitored the temperature of every cell with an infrared thermometer every 10 minutes. For the first hour, nothing unusual happened. The cells stayed at a normal temperature. The BMS was balancing them properly. I slowly added more load, another fan. Then the Peltier modules. Still, everything stayed within safe limits. After running the system for almost 3 hours, I checked the temperatures again. The hottest cell was only about 38 degrees Celsius warm, but completely acceptable. There was no smoke, no strange smells, and no rapid temperature spikes. For the first time since I started this project, I felt like I was actually in control. I spent the next few days running different tests. I charged the pack fully from the solar panels, then discharged it with the cooling system running. I monitored everything closely. The more I tested, the more confident I became. The biggest difference wasn't just the parts I added. It was the change in my mindset. I stopped trying to save every single cell. I stopped cutting corners to save a few dollars. I accepted that safety had to come first, even if it meant spending a little more money and throwing away more old batteries than I wanted to. That shift in thinking was what finally made the system work. By the end of that week, I had a battery pack I trusted. It wasn't the cheapest setup, and it wasn't the biggest either, but it was safe. And for the first time, I felt ready to connect it to a real cooling system and see if it could actually make a difference inside the cabin. Once I had a battery pack I could finally trust, it was time to see if all of this effort would actually make a difference. I connected the new, safer battery system to the DC cooling setup, 2 12V fans, and 4 Peltier modules mounted on a simple aluminum frame with proper heat sinks. I placed the cooling unit near the middle of the cabin and turned everything on in the early afternoon, right when the temperature outside was at its highest. At that moment, the inside of the cabin was sitting at 35 degrees Celsius, hot enough that I was already sweating just from moving around. For the first 30 minutes, I didn't notice much change. The fans were moving air, and the Peltier modules were cold on one side and hot on the other, but the overall room temperature was still high. I started to wonder if this whole project was going to be worth it after everything I had been through. But then, slowly, something began to happen. After about an hour, I checked the thermometer again. The temperature had dropped to 32 degrees. It wasn't dramatic, but it was moving in the right direction. I decided to keep running the system and monitor it every 30 minutes. By the third hour, the temperature inside the cabin had fallen to 29 degrees. The air felt noticeably less heavy. I wasn't sweating as much anymore. I sat down on the bed and just let the cool air blow across the room. For the first time in weeks, the cabin actually felt livable during the hottest part of the day. What surprised me the most wasn't just the temperature drop. It was where the power was coming from. I had been watching the solar charge controller closely the entire time. Even though the cooling system was pulling a decent amount of current, the battery percentage wasn't dropping very fast. In fact, during the peak sunlight hours, the solar panels were producing more power than the cooling system was using. The battery was actually staying at a high state of charge, sometimes even increasing slightly. This meant that most of the energy running the fans and the Peltier modules was coming directly from the sun in real time. The battery was mostly acting as a buffer for when clouds passed by. I wasn't draining the old laptop cells nearly as much as I expected. By late afternoon, the temperature inside the cabin had stabilized around 27 degrees Celsius. It wasn't ice cold like a room with a powerful air conditioner, but it was comfortable. I could sit inside, work, and actually focus without constantly fighting the heat. I ran the system like this for several days in a row. Some days were cloudier than others, but the pattern stayed consistent. As long as there was decent sunlight, the cooling system could keep the cabin noticeably cooler than the outside temperature, all while mostly running on free solar energy. Of course, it wasn't perfect. On very cloudy days, or in the evening after the sun went down, the battery had to carry more of the load, and the runtime was limited. But even then, having a few hours of relief during the hottest part of the day made a huge difference in how I felt living in the cabin. Looking back, I realized something important. I had spent weeks struggling with dangerous battery setups and almost causing a fire, all because I was trying to do everything as cheaply as possible. But once I focused on doing it safely and correctly, the system actually started working, and it was mostly powered by something that cost me nothing: sunlight. That realization made all the mistakes, the smoke, and the fear worth it in the end. Looking back at everything that happened, I realize how close I came to making a permanent mistake. I almost burned down the place I call home, all because I was impatient and didn't respect the danger of working with recycled lithium batteries. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this story, it's this: safety has to come first, especially when you're dealing with old batteries. These cells can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. High internal resistance, physical damage, and poor connections are not things you can ignore. I learned that the hard way. The second lesson I learned is that testing matters more than you think. In the beginning, I was only checking voltage. That's not enough. Internal resistance testing, capacity testing, and proper cell matching are essential if you want to build something safe and reliable. Skipping these steps is what almost caused a fire in my cabin. The third lesson is about mindset. I was so focused on doing everything as cheaply as possible that I kept cutting corners. I kept telling myself, it'll probably be fine. But when you're working with lithium batteries and fire is a real risk, probably fine is not good enough. Sometimes spending a little more on proper protection and being willing to throw away bad cells is the real way to save money because it can save your home. And finally, I learned that free energy is real, but only if you build the system correctly. Once I stopped rushing and started doing things the right way, most of the power for my cooling system was coming straight from the sun. The battery wasn't being drained nearly as fast as I expected. That's the power of proper design. Sunlight is free. Safety is not optional. If you're thinking about building something similar, whether it's a cooling system, a power station, or any project using recycled batteries, please take the time to learn properly first. Watch good tutorials, understand the risks, invest in basic protection like a proper BMS and fuses, and never ignore warning signs like heat or swelling. I'm not saying you shouldn't try this. I'm saying you should try it responsibly. These old batteries have a lot of life left in them, and sunlight is one of the best free resources we have. But both of them can be dangerous if you don't treat them with respect. I almost lost everything trying to stay cool in my cabin. Instead, I ended up with a system that works, a much deeper respect for battery safety, and the knowledge that I can keep my space comfortable using mostly free energy from the sun. Thank you for watching this story. If it helped you understand both the risks and the possibilities of building with recycled batteries and solar power, then sharing it was worth it. Stay safe, build smart, and I'll see you in the next one.